Welcome, 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 my dear. You didn't just appear here by accident. You weren't tossed into this world like scrap metal in a junk yard. You were placed, positioned, hand-delivered into this existence with coordinates so precise that even the unseen forces trembled when they saw where you landed. You carry something that outweighs money, reputation, or power plays. You carry purpose, and that purpose is so staggering that heaven didn't just acknowledge it, it armed you. You think armies are only formed for wars on land, but heaven moves differently. Heaven deploys when the assignment is dangerous, when the weight of your existence is enough to shift timelines, when the opposition is organized and vicious. That's why you felt pressure most people can't understand. That's why resistance comes from every angle. That's why your nights feel heavier, your days feel watched, and your every move draws reactions. Because you aren't just walking around, you're walking guarded by an army they can't see, but they can feel. And trust me, they feel it. Every enemy who plotted against you, every rival who smirked at your downfall, every liar who twisted your name has sensed it in the air. They'll never admit it out loud, but the reason they treat you like a threat is because your protection terrifies them. You think they're intimidated by your words, your skills, your growth. No. They're intimidated because deep down, they can't explain why doors slam in their faces when they try to trap you, why accidents bend in your favor, why conspiracies collapse at the last second when aimed at you. They're fighting more than you. They're fighting the legions assigned to guard you. And when heaven assigns protection, it isn't just symbolic, it's tactical. That means you're not in this war alone. That means your very existence carries backup that never clocks out, never sleeps, never questions why you're worth it. You're worth it because the assignment you carry isn't just for you. It impacts countless others who don't even realize yet that their survival depends on your rise. And this is where the weight crushes the ordinary. Because most people crumble when they realize opposition is consistent. They fold when battles repeat, when betrayals stack, when rejections sting over and over again. But look at you. You've been through the repetition and you didn't break. You didn't crack. You didn't lay down and surrender your existence to the jaws that wanted to devour you. And the only explanation for why you're still here, breathing sharper than before, is that the army didn't let them take you out. You can call it coincidence if you want, but you and I know better. Coincidence doesn't intercept bullets. Coincidence doesn't block betrayals before they're finalized. Coincidence doesn't cancel conspiracies that were perfectly planned. You're here because heaven deployed soldiers, and they've been working overtime to make sure you reach the point where your purpose ignites fully. But here's the part that makes it even heavier. The more valuable the purpose, the more aggressive the warfare. That's why you've noticed your life doesn't resemble the easy paths others seem to enjoy. While they cruise, you're tested. While they build on sand, you're forced to build on bedrock. While they laugh in comfort, you're forged in discomfort. That isn't punishment, it's preparation. Heaven doesn't waste soldiers on meaningless missions. So if an army was deployed to guard your steps, that means your steps will alter landscapes. That means your very existence reroutes destinies. That means your assignment is lethal to the opposition, and lethal assignments always trigger resistance. You were never chosen for easy. You were chosen for impact, and impact requires protection, because your ripple effect is so wide, it can't be measured. Look back at the moments where you almost lost it all, the near misses, the betrayals that should have ruined you, the heartbreaks that should have left you hollow, the traps that should have ended you. They didn't. And that wasn't because of luck. That was because the unseen squad around you refused to let your assignment end prematurely. You think you're walking through ordinary streets, but your presence shifts atmospheres. You step into rooms and people feel unsettled without knowing why. You're not loud. You don't have to announce yourself. But there's a weight to you. That's not charisma, that's coverage. You're walking with backup, and it radiates so strongly that even those who don't believe in heaven can't help but notice something different about you. And this is the part they'll never admit. They tried to isolate you because they couldn't overpower you. They whispered behind your back, not because you were weak, but because they couldn't dent the armor around you. They wanted you to believe you were alone, unwanted, disposable. But the truth? You were never alone. You were never unguarded. You were never disposable. You were a mission, a moving mission. And heaven doesn't abandon missions mid-operation. You've been protected because your breakthrough isn't just yours. It's tied to people you haven't even met yet. People who will one day trace their survival, their transformation, their freedom back to you. That's why the army hasn't left. That's why your enemies are frustrated. They can't touch you without facing forces bigger than them. And the tension builds here because protection doesn't mean absence of battle. It means preservation through battle. Which explains why your scars don't signal defeat. They signal endurance. They're proof you made it through fields where others fell. And every scar terrifies your enemies because it means their attempts didn't work. They had strategies, they had resources, they had alliances, and yet you're still here, still walking, still rising, still aiming forward. That shouldn't be possible if you were just ordinary. That shouldn't be possible if you weren't guarded. But you are. And every step forward is proof that heaven has invested in you too deeply to let you collapse now. But don't mistake protection for permission to stagnate. You're not guarded just to survive. You're guarded so you can advance. The army doesn't escort you through life for comfort. It escorts you so you can reach the exact coordinates where your influence detonates. And when it detonates, everything changes. That's why the pressure intensifies right before your next leap. That's why the resistance feels unbearable at times. It's because the closer you get to ignition, the more desperate the opposition becomes. But desperation always exposes weakness, and the weaker they become, the clearer your strength becomes. The army isn't just fighting to keep you alive, it's fighting to keep your mission alive. And your mission is about to collide with its next stage. So pause for a moment and let that settle. If heaven saw your value as replaceable, you'd be gone by now. If heaven thought your purpose was trivial, there'd be no army. But you're still here, because your existence was never about blending in. It was about breaking through. And every battle you faced has been both a test and a demonstration that you're not walking unguarded. And the truth is, the more you realize this, the more unstoppable you become. Because when you understand you've been deployed with purpose and escorted with protection, you stop hesitating. You stop doubting. You stop apologizing for being too much. And you start advancing like someone who knows that heaven doesn't waste resources. And that brings us here, to this moment, the point where you stop looking at your scars as weaknesses and start seeing them as evidence. The point where you stop questioning why life has been harder for you and start recognizing that hard is proof of worth. The point where you stop thinking you're alone and start realizing you've been surrounded this entire time. This isn't about survival anymore. It's about alignment. You've been guarded to reach this season, and now the question isn't whether you'll make it. It's what happens when you finally step into full awareness of who's been walking with you. Because the minute you see it, the minute you own it, hesitation dies. And hesitation is the only thing the opposition has left to exploit. They can't outnumber your army. They can't outmaneuver your protection. The only thing they can do is convince you to doubt it. But once you stop doubting, their power evaporates. That's why the pressure feels unbearable right now. It's their last weapon, confusion. And confusion can't win against clarity. And clarity is where you're standing now. And this clarity isn't just an end point, it's the threshold. Because everything that came before was training ground, preparation, survival. What comes next is transformation. And transformation requires you to not just acknowledge your army, but to move like someone who commands it. But acknowledgement is only the beginning. Because once you accept that heaven deployed an army for you, the next question is unavoidable. What exactly are they guarding you toward? What is the mission so explosive, so irreplaceable, that the unseen keeps surrounding you? That's the part they don't want you to uncover. Because once you see the assignment clearly, you'll become unstoppable in a way even your protection has been waiting for. And that's where we go next. Understand this: heaven doesn't waste resources. Armies aren't dispatched for hobbies, for minor errands, for fragile distractions that fade in months. When heaven sends an army, it means your assignment is wired into the blueprint of generations. It means your existence touches lives you haven't even met yet. It means your choices carry weight that ripples beyond your lifetime. And that's why the opposition wants you distracted, disoriented, doubtful. If they can't kill you, they'll try to make you wander. Because the moment you move with precision, with alignment, their entire strategy collapses. So what's the mission? It's not about fame. Fame is cheap, fleeting, built on sand. It's not about money either, though resources will flow when purpose is aligned. It's not about applause, validation, or proving people wrong, even though those may come as side effects. Your mission is impact. The kind of impact that alters bloodlines, redefines legacies, shifts the trajectory of people who thought their story was sealed. That's why your path has been so brutal. It had to train you for an assignment bigger than comfort. You weren't chosen to play small. You were chosen to alter the ground under people's feet. And altering ground always shakes structures, always rattles those who benefit from keeping people weak, confused, chained. That's why you felt opposition that doesn't make sense. Because your very presence threatens the infrastructure of those who profit from others, staying blind. Think about it. Why have you survived things that broke stronger people? Why do you carry insights that others never reach, despite all their effort? Why do you find yourself in moments where your words, your presence, your actions alter entire rooms? It's not random. It's evidence. Evidence that your mission was never designed to be ordinary. Evidence that heaven's investment in you is deliberate. Evidence that armies don't march for accidents, they march for assignments. And your assignment has been guarded because it's a weapon heaven intends to release into the timeline exactly when the opposition least expects it. But here's the tension. Heaven guards, but heaven doesn't drag. They deploy armies to protect your steps, but they don't walk the steps for you. which means the mission still requires your choice. And that's why confusion has been their weapon. Because if they can't overpower your protection, they'll try to convince you to sabotage yourself. They'll try to get you lost in distractions, chasing clout, wasting time, indulging in cycles that drain you. Not because those things are powerful, but because they dilute your focus. A diluted fighter is a defeated fighter. And they know the only thing standing between your mission and its eruption is your clarity. That's why clarity terrifies them. That's why your focus is the most dangerous thing you own. And this is where the army surrounding you isn't just protection, it's alignment. They've been maneuvering, redirecting, intercepting, because every step you take toward clarity multiplies the threat you pose. That's why your enemies panicked when you started waking up. That's why you've noticed people acting strange around you, shifting, pulling away, even turning against you without reason. It's because your alignment exposes their hidden agendas. Your clarity reveals the games they were playing. And once you see clearly, you can't be manipulated anymore. That's why heaven protects you, not just to keep you breathing, but to keep you aligned until your clarity is unshakable. And when it clicks, when your clarity sharpens, the world won't be ready. Because alignment makes you efficient. It makes you unstoppable. It makes you dangerous to every structure that benefits from confusion, weakness, and fear. That's why your mission was guarded, because once you embrace it, you become a walking disruption. And disruption is what heaven planned all along. Not disruption for chaos, but disruption for transformation. Because sometimes the only way to heal generations is to break the chains that held them first. And breaking chains isn't quiet. Breaking chains isn't gentle. Breaking chains requires force, and force requires backup. That's why you've been backed since day one. Look at the scars you carry. They're not proof of weakness. They're proof of preparation. Each scar is a training ground that sharpened you for the kind of mission ordinary people couldn't survive. You weren't being punished. You were being forged. And while others misread your suffering as random cruelty, heaven saw it as refinement. Refinement for an assignment so critical that armies had to surround it. Because if you walked into your mission untrained, you'd collapse under the weight. But you didn't collapse. You endured. You adapted. You hardened. You learned how to navigate battles that would have erased others. That's why heaven never pulled the army away, because they saw what you were becoming, and they knew what was waiting on the other side. And here's the revelation. Your mission is too big to be just about you. That's why heaven deployed an army. If it was just about your comfort, your prosperity, your private success, there wouldn't be this much coverage. But it's not just about you. It's about the hundreds, the thousands, maybe millions who will one day draw strength from your existence. It's about the generational curses you were assigned to break. It's about the lies you were built to expose. It's about the movements you'll set off without even knowing. The lives you'll change just by standing in your assignment. And heaven doesn't gamble with that. They safeguard it, they cover it, they surround it with legions, because the ripple effect is too massive to leave unprotected. So if you've been wondering why you've been attacked so relentlessly, that's your answer. You don't attack what isn't dangerous. You don't waste energy trying to destroy what doesn't matter. You only fight relentlessly against what poses a threat. And your life, your mission, your assignment is a direct threat to everything that profits from people staying weak. That's why the opposition panics when you rise. That's why they scramble when you align. That's why every time you level up, the warfare intensifies. It's because your very existence armed with clarity becomes a weapon they can't disarm. And that's why the army hasn't left. They're not just protecting you for survival. They're protecting you for detonation, for the moment when your assignment ignites in full force. That's the moment they've been preserving you for. And that's the moment your enemies fear most. Because once it happens, there's no going back. Once your clarity fuses with your purpose, the war is already over for them. They can delay, distract, discourage, but they can't stop it. Because heaven doesn't deploy armies to lose. They deploy to guarantee completion. So now the weight shifts to you. What will you do with this protection? Will you waste it on distractions? Or will you step into alignment? Will you keep questioning your worth? Or will you realize heaven already answered that by sending an army to cover you? Will you shrink back into comfort? Or will you move forward into the battlefield where your assignment detonates? That's the decision before you now. And it's a decision that terrifies your enemies, because they know once you commit, their games are finished. And maybe you've noticed, the closer you get to this realization, the more desperate the opposition becomes. Desperation shows in how people suddenly try to pull you into old habits, old cycles, old wounds. Desperation shows in how doors that once opened easily now resist, not because you're weak, but because they're trying to slow your advance. Desperation shows in how people you trusted suddenly shift, revealing motives that don't align. Don't panic when you see this. It's proof. Proof that you're closing in on the coordinates your army has been guarding all along. Proof that the mission is about to unfold. Proof that the opposition knows they're running out of time. And when desperation peaks, that's when clarity must be strongest. Because desperation is their last weapon. It's their last attempt to convince you you're not who heaven says you are. But once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the truth is this: heaven doesn't guard trash. They don't surround what's disposable. They only deploy armies for assignments that can't fail. And you are one of them. That's why you're still here. That's why the army hasn't left. That's why the mission is about to unfold. And here's the sharpest edge of this truth. When the mission ignites, it won't just elevate you, it will expose them. Every structure that opposed you will be revealed for what it was. Every lie told about you will collapse under the weight of truth. Every attempt to erase you will boomerang into evidence that you were essential all along. That's why they fear your clarity, because your clarity is their exposure. And exposure is lethal to deception. That's why heaven surrounded you, to ensure you reached this exact moment. So step back and see the bigger picture. You've been walking under heavy protection because you're carrying heavy assignment. You've been shielded not just to breathe another day, but to disrupt another age. You've been preserved because heaven doesn't gamble with missions this massive. And the only thing left to do now is accept that protection as proof and move in alignment. Because the army isn't here to babysit you. They're here to escort you into war. And the war isn't coming. It's already here. That war doesn't look like swords clashing in fields. It doesn't always look like bombs dropping or nations colliding. No, this war plays out in decisions, in voices, in actions. It plays out when lies try to dominate truth. It plays out when fear tries to silence courage. It plays out when greed tries to enslave entire generations into cycles of emptiness. And in this war, you are not a civilian. You are a chosen combatant, armed with clarity, covered with legions, and loaded with purpose that can't be duplicated. That's why heaven deployed the army, not to shield you from reality, but to launch you into it as a weapon. You're not just defended, you're armed. This is why your life feels like constant resistance. Because weapons don't belong in storage, they belong in battle. And every day you wake up, every step you take, is a strike in that war. You may not always see the battlefield, but it sees you. And your enemies recognize something you're only beginning to fully grasp. You weren't sent here to blend into the scenery. You were sent here to shift the battlefield itself. You are the turning point. You are the disruption. You are the breach in the wall that lets light pour through where darkness once claimed permanence. And that's why the army hasn't abandoned you. They've been pushing you here, waiting for this realization. Because activation changes everything. Activation means you stop thinking of yourself as fragile. It means you stop apologizing for the weight you carry. It means you stop shrinking when opposition rises. It means you start advancing with the full recognition that heaven would never waste this much reinforcement if your purpose wasn't lethal to deception. You've been preserved not for hiding, but for unleashing. And unleashing starts the moment you stop seeing yourself as a survivor and start moving like a soldier. Soldiers don't ask if they belong on the battlefield. They know they do. Soldiers don't debate whether their presence matters. They step forward because their orders matter. And your orders are clear: move, advance, break through, shift the ground. The army didn't come for you to live small. They didn't come to watch you bury your gifts. They didn't come to clap politely at your excuses. They came to see you erupt into full power, because your eruption destabilizes everything built to cage humanity. That's why you've been hated without cause. That's why you've been envied by people who never even knew your story. That's why rumors followed you. That's why betrayals tracked you. Because the opposition could smell what was on your life, and they tried everything to cut it short. But they failed. And the reason they failed is standing right beside you every single moment. Legions who don't bow to human intimidation, who don't fear earthly plots, who don't retreat when pressure rises. They guard you because heaven has already declared you are non-negotiable. And if heaven has marked you as non-negotiable, that means your mission cannot be canceled. It can be delayed, tested, opposed, but never canceled. That's the difference between someone living randomly and someone living on assignment. Random lives are replaceable. Assigned lives are reinforced. And you've been reinforced since day one. You've been waking up under watch. You've been walking under cover. You've been breathing under surveillance that doesn't come from fear, but from promise. And that promise is too expensive to waste. That's why the war you face is so intense, because the outcome of your story affects far more than just you. Think about the ripple effect. Every time you refuse to break, someone else gains hope. Every time you rise, someone else gets a glimpse of possibility. Every time you speak, someone else rethinks the prison they thought they had to live in forever. You don't even realize how many people are tied to your courage. You don't even realize how many eyes have been watching you silently, drawing strength from the fact that you didn't quit. That's why heaven deployed an army. Because your existence isn't just about you. It's about the multitudes who will find themselves through you. And that makes you irreplaceable. And here's the brutal truth. Opposition will not stop. As long as you live, pressure will find you. But the pressure isn't proof of weakness, it's proof of significance. No thief robs empty houses. No predator wastes energy on lifeless prey. You've been targeted because you're valuable. You've been hunted because you're dangerous to darkness. You've been pressed because your existence is a direct confrontation to powers that thrive on confusion. And every time they pushed, the army around you pushed harder. Every time they plotted, the army intercepted. Every time they schemed, the army dismantled. You thought you were losing, but look, you're still here. You thought you were cornered, but look, you're still advancing. And that's evidence. Evidence that heaven will never allow your story to end prematurely. But don't misunderstand. Being preserved doesn't mean being passive. Preservation isn't the finale, it's the preparation. The army doesn't keep you alive just for existence. They keep you alive for execution. Execution of purpose. Execution of assignment. Execution of breakthroughs that others couldn't reach without you. And the moment you realize this, hesitation dies, fear dies, doubt dies. Because the truth is too sharp to ignore. If heaven deployed an army for you, then every step you take is already a victory waiting to manifest. And here's where everything shifts. When you begin to move in alignment, the army doesn't just guard. You and the army begin to advance together. That's when your life stops being about endurance and starts being about conquest. That's when your scars stop being reminders of pain and start being badges of survival. That's when your enemies stop being random people and start being witnesses to their own defeat. Because every time you advance, you prove their efforts were wasted. Every time you rise, you remind them of a truth they can't erase. You were chosen, you were covered, and you cannot be erased. And as you embrace this reality, pay attention. You'll notice doors opening that once resisted. You'll notice resources aligning that once hid. You'll notice allies appearing you never expected. That's not coincidence. That's coordination. Coordination of an army that has been maneuvering in silence, setting the stage, arranging the battlefield, so when you finally step forward, momentum erupts. Because heaven doesn't just protect, they prepare. And the preparation has been underway your entire life. You thought you were just surviving seasons, but each season was an alignment, a redirection, a positioning. And now, you're standing at the edge of activation. This is why the opposition trembles. Because once activation ignites, nothing they do will matter. They can't block heaven's strategy. They can't dismantle what heaven has reinforced. They can't erase what was engraved into you before you were even born. All they can do is stall. But the time for stalling has ended. The army around you isn't here to babysit. They're here to march. And marching means movement. Movement into the mission that terrified your enemies before you even had a name. And this is the climax. Your life is proof that heaven is invested in earth. Your story is evidence that heaven still intervenes. Your existence is living testimony that some people are too valuable to be erased. That's why you've been preserved. That's why you've been guarded. That's why you've been carried through battles others couldn't survive. Because your assignment is too big to fail, and failure is not your portion. Completion is, fulfillment is, advancement is. And your army isn't slowing down until you stand in the full eruption of why you were born. So stop doubting, stop shrinking, stop apologizing for being heavy. You are heavy because you are loaded. You are covered because you are valuable. You are fought because you are dangerous. And none of that is an accident. All of it is evidence. Evidence that heaven's army has been circling you because your life carries instructions, too explosive to be left unguarded. And the war you've been sensing, it's not about destroying you. It's about confirming you, confirming that you are exactly who you've always suspected you might be. Chosen, protected, dangerous, unstoppable. And now the finale lands here. What happens when you not only accept your protection, not only acknowledge your purpose, but actually step into full activation? What happens when you move like someone who knows heaven itself has invested resources to keep you alive? The answer is simple. You become a nightmare to everything that wanted you erased. You become a light to everyone who needed your courage. You become the fulfillment of the mission. Heaven started when they sent you here. And that's why this truth can't be ignored. You are too valuable to be wasted. That's why heaven deployed an army. That's why you're still here. And that's why the war ahead will not consume you. It will crown you.